Okay, good morning, Quick Sketchers. This is your next assignment, and I am emailing you a copy of this photo of a reception area. So you can see it's a desk with back workstation, some panels, a cityscape, a tree, and we're going to change this into a nighttime rendering so you can practice using more of the marker. So first of all, you'll overlay it and evolve the sketch, as I've done here. Again, noticing it's a 2-point. So you can see how these lines are angling down toward the right, and these lines are angling down toward the left. And then again, everything parallel to the window will angle to the right vanishing point. Anything parallel to the front of the desk will angle over to the left. And you evolve it, and then just, you can use the buildings that are on the photograph, but as you can see, I added a few additional buildings into the background just to make that more interesting. Okay, so once you've got your underlay, then you're going to overlay it and refine your line weights and use your black felt tip pen. I use the Flair pen for this one. Okay, so once you've got your line drawing ready to go, now you're ready to add your marker. And we're going to start with the windows and add some dark marker first. So I'm going to take this 569, it's this kind of dark violet color. And one little tip is you can rotate your paper so that you can get in a little bit deeper or closer to the line without dragging your hand through the marker. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add that violet tone in here. And of course I know sky isn't purple unless you're Prince or something and you're singing about Purple Rain. But the point is, it's not going to be black either because it's a cityscape. You're going to get all this ambient light from the city. So we're going to use a variety of colors to create the night sky instead of black or a dark gray. And this will also enrich the palette of the final drawing. So again, I'm going to go ahead and add this purple in. And I'm not going to talk right now because we're going to speed the recording up while I add this marker. Okay, once you've got your layer of the purple here, now we're going to add it. This is a beam, so we're going to add it to this side. And again, I'm not going to talk while I add it, so we can speed it up. Okay, once you've got the purple on there, you can see it's deeper colored for the sky. Now we're going to take the 407, which is this kind of deep teal, and add a coat on top. So you want to start back from the original spot where you applied the marker so it has more time to soak into the paper versus putting it on over here where you've just freshly applied the marker. So again, I'm not going to talk while I add this coat so that you can, I can speed it up. So now we have a coat of the purple and the teal. You can see that's actually a pretty good color for the night sky, but I'm going to go ahead and on the back side add some dark gray as well, just to deepen it further. So what you want to do, again, remember if you're working on a surface, you want to put an extra piece of flimsy down when you flip your paper so that you don't transfer all this marker now onto that area. So now I'm going to take the N35 and just deepen it further. In some areas, but I am going to leave a little bit of lighter tone around the top of the buildings. Again, as if the buildings are casting some ambient light into the night sky. Alright, so there's our sky. Now we're going to start working on some other areas of the drawing. So let's start to develop the values on the desk. Okay, so I'm going to take the N95 and I'm going to think of the light coming this way, but I'm just going to go ahead and define some of the edges of the desk. As if the light's coming this direction. I'm going to leave a little white there as if the light from the floor is bouncing up and hitting the desk. Now notice we have this wood paneling. If you look at the original drawing, we have this wood paneling here on the bottom of the desk. So I'm going to take this N992 or 992 for that light wood tone base coat. So notice how I go around. If I have a vertical stroke here, then I'm going to help it blend in with a horizontal stroke. So we go around the edges. I'm going to use that same wood tone back here on this credenza. Of those. All right, we're starting to get some basic color, but now in the original photograph, this plane was a bright yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and use this bright yellow, which is 025. You could make it a different color if you'd like, but I'm going to be demoing with the yellow. Now because I have that bright yellow here, I'm going to want to add it some other spots. I'm going to put it on this little award that the company got, maybe a touch in the flowers, on one of the books or two of the books in the binders. And that way, remember, your eye's going to keep moving around the drawing. Okay, so So now let's see how we can start to develop more depth on here by adding the background color here for the paneling. So I'm going to start light with this N95. And you notice I put the downlights in, which is not shown on the original photo, but since we're making it a nighttime rendering, we need to have some artificial lighting. And will the timer go off when it's 10 minutes? Oh, I didn't check what time I started. Hang on a second, just making sure we're not gonna run out of film. Or,
You got time. I didn't even start it.
that's my tech support, my husband, so don't mind me. Okay, just making sure we don't,
You're fine.
thank you, do all this and then have it not be on the camera, which would be a bummer. Okay, so this is kind of a concrete surface, so I'm going ahead and adding kind of a looser texture here, which I'm going to develop further with some pencil in a little bit. But right now I'm going to take the colorless blender and blend through some of that, just to even it out a bit. Okay, so now we're going to start to add some other dimensional details. Oh, I need that same color for the, let me get it back, it's the N95, for this little segment of beam that's coming across, or segment of wall, to intersect this beam. So that was the N95 again. And while I'm at it, I might as well put another coat on up here, since I got the marker. Okay, so now I'm going to take the N49 and put some on this steel beam. Column it would be. And again, by layering it, I can make this side one side darker than another, so I get a little bit more dimension. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to start to add some grays out for the cityscape. Okay, so I'm going to take the N52 and wash in some gray. Feels like the light's hitting some of these buildings. Notice how I'm putting some strokes on diagonally to make it look more reflective. Now I want to create a darker tone in there also. So I'm going to take a touch of the N45 and add some deeper tone in the outside cityscape also, just to give it a little bit more drama. We're trying to make it look like some of the buildings are illuminated, so we don't want to make it too dark. So now I'm going to go through that again with a lighter gray. This is the N95. Just going to vary the tone again. And make these look more reflective. Okay? Now we're going to go ahead and add some of that into some other areas. So I'm going to put some of this into the pot that I'm going to reflect more later. Okay? And now we need to go a little bit darker in some of these areas. If you'll notice inside the binder bin, it goes pretty dark in there. So I'm going to use some N49. Now this is going to be one of those drawings that you're not going to like because it's going to look really messy at first. And the key is to not give up, just push through, because we're going to pull some detail out with pencil and reinforcing line. and to bring it back up to more detail. Okay, so let's see now what we can do to develop the floor. Oh wait, I wanted to use that in 49 right in here as well. Okay, so let's see what we can do to develop the floor by bringing some reflection down. So what I'm going to do is take the N89 and just pull that vertically down into the floor. Okay, and then I'll put a little bit in this area, so it's like reflecting the tone of the wood into the floor also. So remember, with reflection, you're just going to come down the same width as the actual object itself. So again, if this is the height, I'm going to bring that height straight down into the floor. Alright, so now we want to do the same thing with the night sky. So the way we're going to do that is take those same original markers that we used, but we're going to put some on the back side. So remember to have your extra sheet of flimsy here. So now I'm going to take some of that purple mixed with that teal. And then I'm going to take the blender, pull through that, and create some blended tone for the area where the buildings are reflecting some light into the floor. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of this 90 just to make this, or that's the N35. A little bit darker. Do the same thing with the blender. Pull that through. And start to get some tonal variation going in the floor. So I want to feel like there's some areas that we're getting hit with light, and some that are in dark, the darker value. So you can see as you turn to this side, you start to see that relationship of the window reflecting into the floor. Okay? So now we're going to redefine the dusk by adding one more coat of N95. Remember, if you let things dry a little bit and go back, you can get a better effect with your second coat. So I'm going to add some of that value into the floor here. I'm trying to imply that the floor is reflective and shiny. Okay, starting to see that? Alright, so now let's add some accent color. So we need to develop, this is a little indoor plant. We've got the orchid plant that I'd added, so we need to add some color there. So I'm going to start with taking the olive, thinking about the downlights coming here, and I'm going to add some of this here that I want that to be a bright green, since the top is hit with the light. And you can do the same thing on the top of the leaves here. And then I'm going to go below that with this deeper green. Excuse me. Okay. And now I want to add a darker tone for the stem. I'm just going to add a little bit of this N49 again. Okay, starting to see the basics. Now, because I've got this teal undertone, I could make this pot teal or even purple. I'm thinking because I got the yellow, I'm going to make it purple. So I'm just going to put a little purple on here and then pull it through with the blender to make it feel more glazed. Soften it. Okay? I'm getting the feeling of it, so I can add some of that same tone, into these books, just to, again, create a harmony in the color palette. Okay. Now notice how sometimes I'll just take my blender and clean it off in the drawing, because that again will create some flavoring or reflected color. Now we're starting to see the basic marker application, and we're going to let this dry, and then I'm going to show you how to put the pencil on next. Okay, so hang on and we'll do part 2. Okay, honey, you can turn it off. Okay, now we're going to see how to add some pencil to this to make it get more detail. All right, so the first thing is, if you have a sharp pencil like the sepia, I'm going to go ahead and add some of that to the wood tone here by just bringing some lines of graining of the wood across. You want to make sure that your pencil point's staying sharp. So at some point you might need to take a pause and just sharpen it again so that you keep a very crisp point on it. And then I'm using a light pressure just to get a feeling of rougher wood here. Okay, and then of course I'll use the same, go ahead and sharpen again. I'll use the same pencil in the background, but with a lighter pressure still, to apply some wood graining on these credenza pieces in the back. I'm just doing a little heavier texture here on the side that's facing away from the light, just to apply a little shadow. Okay, so now I'm going to take this yellow tone, and this is called the sable, and I'm going to shade a little reflected glow here into the white, into the wood from the pencil, or from the yellow, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. So if I think of this coming down into the desk, I'm going to shade a little bit of a yellow tone down in here. So again, if I follow this straight down, I'm just going to do a little bit of a shimmer right in this area. So the yellow is reflecting down into the desk. So I'm also going to take a little bit more of that 95 to make it look like the wood reflecting down also around it. Okay, so now I'm also going to take the yellow and put it here around the binder bin openings just to pop those with a little more detail. Okay, so like I said, the pencil will help enliven the sketch and add some pop to the focal point. Okay, so now other places I could use pencil would be to add some more green into the mix of the plant, more texture in the plant here, and help to bring those two colors together a little bit more between the lower shadowed part of the plant and the upper plant. Or here, you know, on the stems of the orchids, or on the top. Now, especially when you have a shiny plant underneath a downlight, you can even actually add some white to the top of the leaves. See, I added a little bit of white to the pot, and I'm also going to add a shimmer of yellow into the pot, so that gets reflecting that edge of the binder bin back, or the credenza onto the yellow, that yellow on the credenza into the pot. Okay, and so now finally what I'm going to do is take a straight edge and I'm going to draw against my scale. Big no-no, so don't tell anyone. Shh, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm going to take a straight edge and I'm going to use that to get these mullions back in the windows. So I already had my pen line in there so that I could see them more clearly. But see how you can have a pretty loose sketch, and then if you add some sharp pencil line to it like that, it can just make the whole thing pop. So I'm going to add in this vertical, add another vertical here. This is another time you want to make sure your pencil stays sharp so that your lines don't get too thick and bulky looking. You want them to look crisp. Let's see how that white against the dark background really starts to give it some dimension. But to further enhance it, I'm going to take the same color I used for this column, and I'm going to, which is the N49, and I'm going to use the fine tip and go ahead and pop the mullions further by adding a little darker line next to it like this, right next to the white. Not on top of it, but adjacent, right adjacent to it. So just like the same as a reinforcing line, right next to it. And underneath, in this case, we'll help pop it some more. Pop the background. And again, it doesn't have to be every single line reinforced, just enough so that you can see the mullion clearly, that it looks substantial against the background. Just put like a little suggestion of one right here. Okay, so then I can also go back in if I feel like I need it with, you know, pop some of these edges, a little more crispness. Okay, so other places you could add pencil would be to take the white and maybe, you know, if the light's again coming this direction, I'm just going to enhance this edge a bit. Pull it out of the dark background. A little bit more onto the tree trunk here. I could shimmer a little white into the yellow, so it looks like the downlights are gleaming off that laminate. Okay, and I want to neutralize this yellow a little bit. So I'm going to take an accent color. I'll just take the sepia. I'm just going to throw a little bit of that in there to dull it. Okay? And then I feel like these yellows in the back could use one more pop. So I'm going to put one more coat of the yellow on, in this case it's called Sable, on the binder bits. All right, and then finally this is rough concrete. So I'm going to take some of the pencil and just do some scribbling to imply kind of the texture of the concrete. So it has more of a warmth to it. So remember, the pencil has tooth, the paper has tooth, so when you put the pencil on it, it's going to create a textural effect that can enhance the drawing well. Directions. And as always, you want to take a moment to pause, take a step back and see if there's anything else that needs to happen. So one thing that would be helpful probably on this one also is to go back in with some reinforcing line on the base of the desk. So I'm just going to go back in and pop a few of these underside edges. Just to ground it from the background. And we're done. All right, so this one will be due after spring break. But again, this is our nighttime rendering of a reception area with the light. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more thing I forgot. You also want to add in if you want, like a few little dots in the background to look like perhaps some light in the distance, or radio tower, something that's adding a few sparkles back here. If you have an opaque white pen, that can even be more effective to show some distance lights. But again, I thought I was done. One last thing I would also do is add a little bit of wash up here to the ceiling, just to give that a presence. So So this is the N89. And I'm just giving it a quick little coating. Okay. There. Now we're done. All right, so again, this will be due after spring break, and I'll be sending you the background photograph to be working on. And the point is, you're going to try to, if you've been reluctant to use too much marker, this is your chance to push through that black, add a lot of marker. Again, you're not going to like it, but you're going to then pull up the detail with the pencil and the reinforcing line to get the definition back into the sketch. Okay, good luck and have fun, and I'll see you tomorrow for our conference calls, FaceTime. Take care. Stay well. Aloha.